Okay, we're back, and I think we've got it. I think we are at our magic measurement. And here's the deciding factor. We'll see if this seal slips in, and it just does. Takes a little bit of force, but that's good. That's kind of how we want it. So now we just have to cut down the OD of this so that it fits in the flange on the axle. We also have to get the seal back out. There we go. Okay, we're going to start turning down the OD of this, and that scratch mark there is just sort of my sanity check line. Just take about 1/10 thou off on the first pass here. Yeah, this is a mess. Not much you can do about it. I think what I might do is reset the tool post so I'm at a little bit less of an angle. That might make it a little better. Yeah, this isn't going to work like this, but we'll finish off this first cut. What we're going to do now is, is basically square up the tool post and get a little bit more of a sharp angle on what we're doing there. We'll square that up with the work, and hopefully that'll make those cuts a lot cleaner. And that's kind of a sneaky way to square up your tool post. We know the lathe faced this off, so we know it's got to be perpendicular to the travel of the cross slide, so that should be pretty dang square. Plus, it's nice to have this tool post already squared up for when we want to come in and do parting and stuff like that. So, all right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of reset my tool. First of all, we always check, make sure we got clearance on the chuck, and I'm just going to reset my zeros on the DRO. Should act as our new zeros. And now what I'm going to do is I'll set the depth of cut, and we will let the carriage just feed by itself away from the chuck, which I always prefer because it's much less drama. And I'm a big chicken, so let's just set our depth of cut for 10 thou maybe. Turn the carriage on, and away we go. That's a little better. I don't think we're ever going to completely avoid the poor chip breaking, making these light cuts in aluminum, but it is what it is. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get smacked in the head with some of it. probably the last pass here. We're really close to dimension, within a few thousandths anyway. And if we need to make very small adjustments, we can do it with emery paper. Before we part it off, we'll get it exactly where it needs to be, but I think we're pretty darn close. We're shooting for 2.594 to 2.597, somewhere in there. Got a couple of thousandths tolerance to play with. I've tried the unnesting thing, and frankly, I'm letting it go. I'm making such fine cuts. Like this cut here is about 3 thousandths. So, you know, it is what it is. Okay, let's see where we are. Again, shooting for, there's a 2-inch micrometer. We're shooting for 2.595. And we're at 592. So I think we're going to be plenty good. Maybe a thou under, but that's okay. So now what we need to do is part this baby off. We need to have 1.2 inches of spacer. So that should leave me just enough meat for the parting blade to go right in there. So, parting is one of my least favorite things to do on the lathe. I don't know why. It's not really scary or tricky, or I just struggle with it sometimes, and for that reason, it's not one of my most favorite things to do. But, nonetheless, it's got to be done. Now, I remember we squared up this tool post, so we're going to work under the assumption that nothing there has changed. And we're going to run this in and kind of part this thing off. And yeah, maybe before I do that, I'll just put a tiny chamfer on this outside edge with a file. We'll just clean that up a little bit. Let me grab a file. Let's just turn that. Nice little chamfer on that, not a sharp edge, and then clean up the inside with a regular deburring tool. And we should be good to go. Yeah, that's nice. So, bring this see where we are here. What I want is to be 1.2 inches from the inside of this parting blade to the end of and we're 1.231 right there, so that looks good. That's a lubrication. Use the paintbrush to catch the part. Too carried away, I'm going to chamfer this edge a little bit before I part it off. It's easier to do now. Same sort of process. Carefully. Take a little knuggle off of it like that. Lubricant in there. And finish the part. Yahtzee. Oh, that's a little warm. And I don't think our parting blade was completely square, although it's pretty close. So, there we go. The finished part with the step inside. I still have to clean up this back edge, but that's easy. You can do that on the belt sander. That'll take that off in a jiffy. And we've got the step inside where the seal is going to seal up against. And we'll let this thing cool off and clean it up, and hopefully we have parts that the seal's going to fit into. Okay, we have this thing mounted back in the lathe on the inside. I'm just going to put a very slight chamfer on the edge just to help it go into place properly in the car. So we'll just take a tiny little chamfer on this and just take the edge off. Being really delicate with it because it's just held in there on the thin diameter. I don't want my luck. And then while we're at it, we'll do the same thing on the inside. Maybe. I don't know if I have tool clearance. No, I don't think so. I'm not going to risk it. I'll clean that up with this. We are. So now we have a part that should fit perfectly and work exactly the way we intended. There it is. That's the finished piece. The seal goes down inside here like that. Just presses in. Well, if you press it in straight, it presses in. And you know, it's supposed to be an interference fit, so may have to just give that a little bit of persuasion, but it'll go in there. And then we'll have this seal around the axle and the O-ring that's around the bearing to keep the oil in the rear end. So let's take this over to the car and see if it fits. So, sorry about the air compressor noise. But this goes in here and it has to go back into the axle. So what I need to do, and it is a bit of a snug fit, what I need to do is go inside the axle and just clean up, wow, that's a really tough shot. Just clean up where those welds are. You can see them there on the inside of the axle housing. Just clean those up so that the bushing can go inside there. So that's next. Probably not today. I've had enough. I think I'm going home. Okay, well, hopefully you can see that. We've got the seal spacer installed inside the axle with the seal inside the spacer. I've put a little bit of grease on the seal itself just to help slide the axle into place. And then I've got the axle and the retainer ready to go in. And so hopefully this is all just gonna slide right in and everything will be tiddly-boo. Got the new O-ring on the bearing here as well. We're just gonna slide the whole thing into place, and that's where the retainer is gonna go. And now that we've got the rotor hat drilled out to where it's supposed to go, let's see if it fits. Beautiful. And there it is, almost assembled. So now it's put the bolts in the retainers and mount the calipers, and pretty soon we'll be ready to put wheels on it. I'll bring you back in a little while.